Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and Happy New Year. So in a previous video I said how I wanted to review Tubi movies. So today I watched a movie and it is called, if I look this way it's because my notes are right here. Oh, let me put that back on, honey, because we need to see. So the movie is called The Yousers, and it was put out in 2018. It's an hour and 24 minutes, and it's a thriller. So we have the wife named Mariah, the husband named Dre. He a entertainment agent. We got the friend Avery, who is a videographer, and then we got that actress Frances Klein, and the stripper Sydney. So the movie started off with Dre and his wife. They in the kitchen, giving kisses before work, saying bye to the baby. The baby, the little boy has diabetes, so she walks over and give him his shot of insulin for the day. And then we jump into Dre and Avery. They just having a conversation in the office. I don't remember what they talking about, but Avery, I guess he say they're like choreographer women, but I really think they like prostitutes or strippers or whatever. But anyway, like I said, Dre is a entertainment agent. So Frances, why can I not say this lady's name? Frances Klein is an actress, but she's an older actress. So she is kind of like looking for like a boy toy to just be seen out with her so she can get some publicity, because she kind of got like a movie coming out. So she's just talking to Dre about that, and he's just like, whatever. So they go out, and this is not verbatim, but they kind of go out like client lunch type of thing. So when they leave, TMZ is outside, and they make a statement, and she ends up kissing Dre. So now it's in the like blogs that like Dre is her dude. So yeah. So, the wife haven't found out yet, but as time go on, she found out. She's not happy about it. And Dre just try to let her know, like, this ain't that. She was going through something, but she wasn't going through nothing. He just ain't want to tell his wife the real. But Mrs. Klein goes to Dre's supervisor and tells her, no, when they get to the movie premiere, obviously there's press out there, and Dre makes a statement saying that, she was just going through something, and, the kiss wasn't what it was, and blah, blah, blah. So the next day, Frances Klein goes to Dre's boss, supervisor, whatever, and tells her like she's not happy about that. He played her, and she ain't like that. So the boss told him like, look, you need to do whatever you have to do to keep her happy. She is the client. So Dre basically goes to his wife, tries to make up a plan, basically saying how he's sorry for like wait, let me see what he say. Yeah, he's gonna act like he's with her and that he cheated on her, talking about Frances Klein. And the company is like telling him, you need to say whatever you got to say to keep this lady happy. He asked his wife to corroborate the story, um, because obviously he didn't really cheat on his wife. And the wife wasn't having it. And she basically saying, like, how are you going to let this job go against our marriage? Like, you don't want this actress to be embarrassed, but you don't mind that I'm embarrassed. Like, this is our life and our marriage, and you just about to just keep going with the lie? No, thank you. So, what else happened? Okay, so I forgot to say in the beginning that Dre and Avery go to this store. I don't remember why they went to the store, but it's this lady that works there. Her name's Sydney, and I guess she's into fashion. I don't know if she designed these dresses or she just sells them, but she works at the store. And this lady um comes from the back. Her name Bubba. I think that's her name. If her name not Bubba, oops. But her name is something. And she comes from the back and she letting Sydney know, like, I got some clients, meet me here, blah blah blah. So where I'm at, dang, like why? Okay, yeah. So that's about right. Dre, he goes out and he sees Sydney, cause Sydney is a stripper. He sees Sydney. She's sad on the corner of the street. And she tells him how this dude, um, like approached her and like touched her butt and called her a B, and how all men only see her as you know, a garden tool. So he was like, did he apologize? And she like, no. So he go in the bar, club, whatever it is, and he tried to talk to the dude, try to rough him up, but I think he got punched. But anyway, I think they ended up going back to her place, and they end up kissing. And then, right, they end up kissing. And then the next day, um, Dre meets with Avery, and he's supposed to be doing some video shoot for this rapper. So Dre brings the rapper to Sydney to be styled for this BET performance. So, he styles her. No, she styles her, and then they go out to eat, and then it ends up being Dre and Sydney. Dre and Sydney, yeah, Dre and Sydney end up getting it on after that. He tried to go home, play it off, and be a husband to his wife, but the wife knows something is off, because they always do. Um, she asks him to use her. The wife asks Dre if she could use his car because hers was in the shop getting service or whatever. So she gets in his car and she finds Sydney card. So she calls her. But when she calls, she basically just said like um she doesn't know what she wants or whatever. And Sydney's like, well, how did you get this number? And she was like, oh, I found it in the car. She didn't say it was her husband's car. She just said, I found it in the car. Okay, Sydney's like, okay, well, I know who you is. You must be a client of Bubba. If that's that lady name. I didn't take her name because she won in a movie like that. She was like, okay, meet me at the club. Oh, and Mariah tells Sydney her name is Elizabeth. So they meet at the club. Mariah brings her family. So they not there alone. Sydney ended up coming to the table and was like, what's your fantasy? and all this. And then Mariah asked her what's her fantasy, and then they was just like, you know what, let me think about it. Let me figure out what my fantasy is, and then they leave. So the wife ends up meeting with Sydney again, and they doing whatever, and then the wife ends up stripping at the club, but she had a mask on, and she ended up dancing for Avery. He didn't realize that was her, and she ran off the stage. I guess she realized who he was. At this point, I'm realizing that Mariah is being sneaky and trying to befriend Sydney because she obviously knows that she's stuck with her husband. So Sydney and Mariah, they cool, they hang out and all this, and Mariah tells her this story that I don't know if it's true, how, you know, her husband is this great guy, how when they first went on a date, he took her to a restaurant and he just watched her eat because he only had enough money for her food and all this foolishness. So Sydney like, I got a client tonight, come with me. The client ended up being Mrs. Klein. So did I say that Mrs. Klein liked to do um she she liked to use that white stuff, okay? So she got this needle, she gives it to um Mariah because she wanted Mariah to go to give it to her for some apparent reason. Who knows? Because she just met this lady. So Mariah goes to the bathroom, put drugs in the needle. Mariah tries to give it to Sydney, but Mrs. Clan is like, I want you to do it. So Mariah gives her the drug. 5 o'clock in the morning, Mariah Dre in the bed sleep. His phone is ringing, and he realizes that Mrs. Klein died. Was I saying her name wrong? Mrs. Klein. Mrs. Klein died, whatever. She died. And Dre dumped up, like, I gotta go. I gotta see what's going on. She's like, the lady's dead. Like, you still about to run after this lady and she dead? So did you really cheat with her? And he just ended up leaving. Also in that moment, when they was at the hotel with Mrs. Klein, Sydney said that they never got to the point of doing any actual acts because once she take that white stuff, she just passes out, and they took the money and left. So back to, you know, Dre leaving, and then Sydney calls her like, you know, we were the last one with her. You was the one gave her the drug. Like, what's going on? She was like, okay, she takes drugs. Like, don't try to like put that on me. Like, that don't have nothing to do with me. Okay, so after they had that phone call, Dre, his boss, supervisor, are walking outside. This is right after the funeral. And there's a detective out there wanting to ask questions. And they was just basic questions like, how did you know her? And the boss was like, oh, that's my wife. But like, she ain't have nothing. If she did have something, it was through blackmail. It was through borrowing, whatever. And he was like, I only kept her as my wife because I didn't want her to take nothing from me. And Jay was like, that was your wife? He was like, yeah. So that was the end of that scene. Oh no, that wasn't in that scene because that's when they found out that Mrs. Um, Klein didn't die from that white stuff. She died from insulin. And if we remember in the beginning, Mariah was giving insulin to her son because he got diabetes. Um, Sydney and Mariah talk. She tells her to meet her at the club, and there's this dude there. For the dude here is for Sydney, and Mariah set this up. So she lets her know, like, you know, at one point you asked me what my fantasy was, and this is it, watching you suffer because I know you slept with my husband. So the dude is roughing Sydney up, and then Mariah walking off all slow and dramatic. And then all of a sudden we see Sydney go into her apartment building crying with a busted lip. And I'm just like, were you supposed to survive? Like, I don't know. So she ended up knocking over clothes and the racks and all that. And she get this red dress and she started to smell it. Um, and then from that scene, we jump to 2 months later. 2 months later, Sydney is on a radio show with a black bob wig, like Mariah, in this red dress, and she is telling the story of how she got into fashion or whatever, and she told the exact story that Mariah told her when they was hanging out at the restaurant, that, you know, how she met her husband. He didn't have that much. He took her to the restaurant, watched her eat because he only had enough food for once. And Sydney also said that her name is Elizabeth now. That's what she's going by. And if we remember, and I don't know if I said this in the beginning, but when Mariah found Sydney's car in the car and her husband's car, she called Sydney, but she told her name was Elizabeth and not Mariah. So back over here. She's done with the radio thing. So she's sitting at this restaurant now, and we see Dre sitting at the table with his wife. So she walks up with this bob and red dress and just like, hi Dre. He's like, oh, hi Sydney. He's like, have you met my wife? And she was like, oh, nice to meet you, but I'm going by Elizabeth now. So after that, Dre meets up at Sydney's house, and he's like, where'd you get that dress from? Because he bought that dress for Mariah. And she was like, you know where I got this dress from. And then Dre goes home and he asks Mariah, where is the dress I bought you? And she was like, you know where it is because you just went to her house to meet her. So the next day, Mariah comes to Sydney's house. And at this point, I'm confused. I'm like, I don't know what's going on at this point. So, she still got on this dress, child. And Mariah's like, take it off. And she was like, that's a side of me that my husband don't know, why she tying her arms up. So she lifts her arms back, lay her on the bed, start kissing her. And then we just go to a scene where Dre and Mariah is in the kitchen cooking like they're a normal family. But as that's happening, we're having flashbacks of the moment where Mariah and Sydney are in the house and she's kissing her and she just slicing her up with a pocket knife. So she kills Sydney. Now we looking back at Dre, Mariah, and their kid sitting at the table, and she's just like looking like. And then we flash back till she get off Sydney after slicing her up, and her husband standing right there watching. Like that, like they do this all the time. And then we have a flashback to them at the table again, and then it goes off. So, my thoughts. First, I want to say that the audio of this movie annoyed me because I don't know, it was so loud that it seemed like when they were talking, it was like they were like mouthing the words. I don't know. It's just like the audio was terrible. And then in the beginning, when Dre and Mrs. Klein were talking, they had this suspenseful thriller sound going on in the background. I'm just like, what's the point of this? Like, that's like, we barely can hear anybody talk. Like, why is the sound going on back here? Like, ain't nobody in the woods. I mean, in the woods with a knife, like walking, chasing somebody down. Why is this sound right here? They literally in the office talking, and then Dre was talking to his boss, and it was music. I'm like, why? What is going on? Like, what is this? That was so annoying to me. But if I had to rate this movie, I'll give it a 4. 4 out of 10. Because, like, it was stupid, but it was also entertaining at the same time. So, I was, we know how Tubi movies are. Low budget, but, like, some be good, some be stupid and good at the same time. So, you know, if you want to go watch it, go watch it. And, you know, like this review of this movie. And I'll see y'all in my next video. Wait, no, I won't. Like, comment, subscribe. Then I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye.